I'm so glad you found your way here. Your body is healing itself right now, repairing damage while you simply exist. You'll discover the healing secret doctors are just understanding and learn why your mind is the most powerful medicine you possess. Welcome to Sleepy Science Night. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your brain quietly repairs itself, clearing toxins, preparing for tomorrow. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about consciousness during sleep. From invisible cellular repair happening now, to how thoughts create healing chemicals, to the bridge between hope and recovery. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A soft subscribe, like or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more healers to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary of calm, one sleepy soul at a time. Your healing journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Every night, you might notice yourself doing something that seems almost paradoxical. You surrender consciousness, the very thing that defines your existence, and slip into a vulnerable state where you cannot protect yourself or respond to danger. For roughly 1/3 of your entire life, you essentially cease to exist as a thinking, aware being. This nightly disappearance of self is so essential to well-being that going without it for just a few days begins affecting how your mind processes reality, how your thoughts connect, and how your body maintains itself. According to research published in Nature Neuroscience in 2024, sleep deprivation disrupts hundreds of genes involved in immune function, metabolism, and cellular repair. Your consciousness must regularly sacrifice itself so that you can continue living. This is our first paradox. The moment you begin falling asleep, your brain does simply power down. Instead, it orchestrates one of the most complex transitions in biology. Within the first few minutes, your thalamus begins reducing signals to your cortex. Visual input fades, sounds become muffled and distant. The feeling of sheets against your skin grows less distinct. Your consciousness of the external world dims gradually, like a theater where house lights slowly lower. According to sleep research from the National Institutes of Health, this transition involves precise coordination between dozens of brain regions and neurotransmitter systems. You're not losing consciousness suddenly. You're carefully, systematically releasing it. During this descent, something remarkable happens to your sense of self. The parts of your brain responsible for self-awareness, particularly regions in your prefrontal cortex, begin to quiet. The constant internal narrator that comments on your experience gradually falls silent. Recent functional MRI studies from 2024 show that the default mode network undergoes dramatic changes as you fall asleep. The tight integration between these regions loosens. Your unified sense of I begins fragmenting like sugar dissolving in warm water. Your body follows consciousness into this transformation. Within 10 to 15 minutes of falling asleep, your core temperature drops by about 1 degree Fahrenheit. Your heart rate slows from 70 to 80 beats per minute down to 40 to 60. Blood pressure decreases. Breathing becomes slower, deeper, more rhythmic. According to research in sleep medicine reviews, These changes are precisely orchestrated by your hypothalamus and brainstem. Your body is preparing for the deep repair work that can only happen when consciousness releases its grip. While your awareness of the external world fades, your brain doesn't become less active. During certain stages of sleep, your brain consumes almost as much energy as when you are fully awake. Glucose metabolism remains remarkably high throughout the night. So if sleep isn't about resting the brain, what is it for? The answer, discovered relatively recently, has to do with cleaning. In 2012, neuroscientist Maken Nedergaard discovered something that changed our understanding of why we sleep. She found a previously unknown system in the brain, which she named the glymphatic system. The glymphatic system is essentially the brain's waste removal service, operating primarily during sleep. Throughout your waking hours, as neurons fire and communicate, they generate metabolic waste products, including a protein called beta amyloid. During deep sleep, something extraordinary happens. The spaces between your brain cells expand by about 60%. Cerebrospinal fluid then flows through these widened channels, flushing out the accumulated waste. Updated research from 2024 shows this cleaning process is dramatically more efficient during sleep than wakefulness. Your brain needs you to lose consciousness so it can take out the trash. This discovery has profound implications for understanding neurodegenerative diseases. Beta amyloid is the same protein that forms characteristic plaques in the brains of people with Alzheimer's disease. Studies published in JAMA Neurology in 2024 a clear correlation between chronic sleep deprivation and increased dementia risk later in life. People who consistently sleep less than 6 hours per night show faster accumulation of these proteins. The consciousness you surrender each night isn't just resting. It is stepping aside so your brain can perform the quiet maintenance that protects your future cognitive function. But the glymphatic system isn't the only reason consciousness needs to disappear. During sleep, particularly during deep, slow-wave sleep, your brain consolidates and reorganizes the day's experiences. Memories that seemed fragmented during waking hours are replayed, strengthened, integrated into existing knowledge networks. According to research in current biology, this memory consolidation requires the hippocampus to communicate extensively with the cortex. This transfer happens most efficiently when the brain isn't processing new information, when consciousness has released its grip on the present moment. Sleep also allows your immune system to function at full capacity. During deep sleep, your body produces more cytokines, proteins that help fight infection and inflammation. T cells become more effective at attaching to and destroying infected cells. Studies from the University of Tübingen, updated in 2024, show that even a single night of sleep deprivation significantly reduces immune function. The consciousness that monitors so much during waking must step back so the body's automatic healing systems can work. Perhaps most remarkably, sleep allows your brain to reshape itself. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural connections and prune away unused ones, happens primarily during sleep. The synapses strengthened by important learning during the day are consolidated and enhanced. Those that weren't used are weakened or eliminated. Research in Nature from 2024 shows that sleep essentially resets your brain's capacity to learn. Consciousness must dissolve each night, so it can be rebuilt more efficiently for tomorrow. So the answer to our first mystery begins to emerge. You lose consciousness to stay alive because consciousness itself is expensive. Maintaining that unified, aware, self-monitoring state requires tremendous neural resources. The brain regions that support consciousness consume large amounts of energy. generate significant waste, and prevent other processes from occurring. Sleep transforms consciousness into something different, something that allows the deeper work of repair, cleaning, consolidation, and preparation to happen. This creates a beautiful symmetry. During the day, consciousness directs attention outward, gathering information, making decisions, solving problems. During the night, that same neural machinery turns inward, not to think or worry, but to heal and integrate. The nightly release isn't a failure or vulnerability. It's a necessary phase in a cycle that makes consciousness possible. Without the dissolution, there can be no rebuilding. Without the cleaning, there can be no clarity. Mystery unsolved. You lose consciousness to stay alive, because staying alive requires more than consciousness alone can provide. Now we turn to our second paradox. If sleep is supposed to be rest, why does your brain remain so remarkably active throughout the night? Modern neuroimaging studies show that during REM sleep, your brain's electrical activity closely resembles waking patterns. In some regions, particularly the visual cortex and limbic system, activity during REM exceeds waking levels. Blood flow remains high. Glucose consumption stays elevated. From a metabolic standpoint, the sleeping brain is anything but dormant. So what is all this activity accomplishing? To understand this mystery, we need to look at what changes and what stays the same. During waking consciousness, your brain operates in a highly integrated mode. Different regions communicate extensively, coordinating to create your unified experience. Sensory information flows in, gets processed, generates thoughts and decisions, which guide behavior. This integration requires constant communication across long distances in the brain. Sleep doesn't eliminate this activity. It reorganizes it. During the first stage of sleep, known as N1, your brain waves shift from rapid beta waves to slower alpha and theta waves. This transition takes only a few minutes. Your eyes may roll slowly beneath closed lids. Muscle tone decreases but doesn't disappear. You're hovering in that twilight zone between waking and sleeping, where strange sensory experiences can occur. You might feel like you're falling, or hear your name being called. These hypnagogic hallucinations reflect brain activity reorganizing. Some networks shutting down while others activate. During this twilight state, your awareness hovers between worlds, neither fully awake nor deeply asleep. A liminal space where the boundaries of consciousness blur. As you sink deeper into N2 sleep, something fascinating appears in your brain activity. Sleep spindles, brief bursts of rapid brain waves, lasting 1 to 2 seconds, begin occurring regularly. Research published in Nature Neuroscience in 2024 reveals these spindles play a crucial role in memory consolidation. They coordinate the transfer of information from your hippocampus to your cortex, where long-term memories are stored. More spindles correlate with better memory performance the next day. Your brain is highly active, but the activity is internal, reorganizing rather than processing external information. Then comes slow-wave sleep, also called N3, characterized by large, slow delta waves rolling across your cortex like ocean swells. This is the deepest form of non-REM sleep, the stage from which it's hardest to wake someone. Your muscles are fully relaxed. Heart rate and breathing are at their slowest. Body temperature is at its lowest. And yet, your brain remains metabolically active. Those slow waves represent millions of neurons firing in synchrony, something that never happens during waking consciousness. After cycling through non-REM stages for about 90 minutes, something unexpected happens. Your brain activity suddenly accelerates. Your eyes begin moving rapidly beneath closed lids. Heart rate increases, becoming more variable. breathing becomes irregular. Blood pressure rises. Brain waves shift to resemble the waking state. You've entered REM sleep, and this is where the mystery of sleep's activity becomes most apparent. During REM, your brain is as active as it ever gets, yet you remain profoundly unconscious of the external world. The key lies in which parts are active and which are suppressed. During REM sleep, your visual cortex lights up intensely, generating the rich imagery of dreams. Your limbic system, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus, shows heightened activity, processing emotions and memories. Meanwhile, your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, responsible for logical reasoning, goes relatively quiet. The thalamus blocks input from the outside world, while amplifying signals from within the brain itself. This pattern creates a remarkable state. You're regenerating complex sensory experiences, emotional responses, and narrative scenarios entirely from internal neural activity, while simultaneously remaining disconnected from external reality and from logical evaluation. Dreams feel real because the brain regions that create sensory experience are active. They feel bizarre because the regions that would normally say, "Wait, that's impossible," are offline. Sleep isn't characterized by reduced brain activity. It's characterized by reorganized brain activity. Modern theories suggest this reorganization serves multiple purposes. During REM sleep, emotional memories appear to be reprocessed. The hippocampus replays recent experiences, while the amygdala processes their emotional content, but with reduced stress hormones like cortisol. Research in Current Biology from 2024 shows this allows the brain to retain factual content while dampening emotional intensity. Traumatic memories lose some of their sting when processed during REM sleep. REM sleep also seems to enhance creative problem solving. Studies show that people who sleep after learning demonstrate improved performance the next day, particularly on tasks requiring insight or novel approaches. During REM, the brain forms unexpected associations between different memories and concepts, creating connections that might not occur during more linear waking processing. The high activity level during REM facilitates this creative reorganization. Throughout the night, you cycle between non-REM and REM sleep 4 to 6 times, with each cycle lasting about 90 minutes. Early in the night, slow wave sleep dominates, giving your brain extended periods for glymphatic cleaning and synaptic reorganization. Later in the night, REM periods become longer and more intense, providing time for emotional processing and memory integration. This cycling pattern explains why the sleeping brain maintains such high activity levels. It's not resting. It's performing different types of work in orchestrated phases. So the answer to Mystery 2 begins to crystallize. The sleeping brain is as active as the waking brain because it has just as much work to do, just different work. During waking, your brain processes the external world, makes decisions, controls behavior. During sleeping, your brain processes the internal world, reorganizes memories, regulates emotions, maintains itself. Both states require significant neural activity. The difference isn't in how much activity occurs, but in how that activity is directed. Think of it like this. A factory that produces goods during the day does simply shut down at night. It uses nighttime hours for maintenance, cleaning, reorganization, preparation. The machinery still runs, energy is still consumed, but the nature of the work has changed. Your brain operates similarly. Waking consciousness produces behavior and responses to the environment. Sleeping consciousness produces maintenance and preparation for tomorrow's waking. Mystery 2 solved. The sleeping brain stays active because it is still working, just on different tasks. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Now we continue. Our third paradox may be the strangest of all. Every night, during REM sleep, your brain generates elaborate, immersive, emotionally intense experiences. You see vivid scenes, interact with people, experience fear, joy, confusion. Your brain invests tremendous energy into creating these dream worlds. And yet, within minutes of waking, most of this vanishes. You might remember fragments, fleeting impressions, occasional vivid scenes, but the vast majority dissolves into complete amnesia. If dreams are so important that your brain dedicates hours to producing them, why can't you remember them? The first thing to understand is just how much dreaming actually occurs. Research using awakening protocols suggests that some form of mentation occurs during most sleep stages, not just REM. Even during slow-wave sleep, people report having thoughts, though these tend to be more abstract than REM dreams. You might be experiencing some form of dream consciousness for up to 2 hours each night, during REM alone, plus additional time during other stages. Yet despite all this mental activity, dream amnesia is profound and nearly universal. Studies show that even when people are woken immediately after REM sleep, they forget about 90% of their dream content within 10 minutes. The forgetting curve is incredibly steep. The answer appears to lie in the neurochemical environment of the sleeping brain. During REM sleep, levels of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter critical for memory formation, drop to near zero. Without adequate norepinephrine, the hippocampus cannot effectively transfer experiences into long-term memory storage. This suggests something fascinating. Dreams aren't meant to be remembered. If they were, evolution would have provided the neurochemical conditions necessary for memory formation during dreaming. But it didn't. The brain actively creates conditions that prevent dream experiences from being stored. This appears to be intentional, not accidental. But why would the brain invest so much energy creating experiences designed to be forgotten? What possible purpose could that serve? One answer comes from the threat simulation theory of dreaming. According to this framework, supported by recent neuroscience, dreams serve as a kind of virtual reality training program. During dreams involving fear or threat, your brain simulates dangerous scenarios, allowing your threat detection systems to practice without real-world consequences. The emotional intensity is genuine, the neural activation is real, but because it is simulation, you can experience danger without actual harm. You don't need to remember these simulations for them to train your brain's response systems. Supporting this idea, research in neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews shows that the amygdala, your brain's fear processing center, is particularly active during REM sleep. Furthermore, dream content analysis reveals that negative emotions, particularly anxiety and fear, appear in dreams far more frequently than positive emotions. This bias toward negative scenarios makes sense if dreams are training simulations. You need to practice responding to threats, navigating conflicts, handling uncertainty. Another theory focuses on emotional regulation. During REM sleep, the brain appears to reprocess emotional memories from recent experiences, separating factual content from emotional charge. Neuroimaging studies show that when emotional memories are reactivated during REM, the amygdala responds, but cortisol levels remain low. According to research by Matthew Walker at UC Berkeley, updated in 2024, this overnight emotional processing is why people often feel better about stressful events after sleeping on them. Think about trauma therapy. Techniques like EMDR help people process traumatic memories by activating memories while in a safe, relaxed state. REM sleep may function similarly. The rapid eye movements, the reactivation of emotional memories, the reduced stress hormone levels, all create conditions for processing difficult experiences. The dream narrative your brain constructs may simply be the conscious experience of this reprocessing work. You don't need to remember the dream story for the underlying therapeutic work to happen. There's also evidence that dreams help with creative problem solving and insight. The loosening of logical constraints during REM allows your brain to form unusual associations between different concepts. The classic example is August Kekele's discovery of the ring structure of benzene, reportedly coming to him in a dream. Many artists and scientists report getting ideas from dreams. But here's the interesting part. They remember those specific dreams because the insights were striking. The thousands of other dreams that didn't produce useful insights were forgotten. Recent research on memory consolidation adds another layer. During REM sleep, your brain replays recent experiences, but not exactly as they happened. Instead, it extracts general principles, integrates new information with existing knowledge, and forms abstract representations. A study in Nature Communications from 2024 showed that people who slept after learning demonstrated better transfer to novel situations, even though they couldn't remember specific dream content. So dreams may function like scaffolding in construction. Scaffolding is needed while building a structure, but once the structure is complete, it's removed and discarded. Dreams provide a temporary framework for memory consolidation, emotional processing, and creative reorganization. Once those processes are complete, the dream scaffolding is no longer needed and fades away. What matters is the building that remains, the strengthened memories, the regulated emotions, the new insights. Another possibility is that remembering all your dreams would actually be counterproductive. Dreams are often bizarre, illogical, emotionally intense, and disconnected from reality. If you remembered them all with the same clarity as waking experiences, it could become difficult to distinguish between what really happened and what you dreamed. Your sense of reality might become confused. The amnesia barrier helps maintain clear boundaries. There's also the simple matter of capacity. Your brain has limited storage space for memories. If every dream from every night were preserved in long-term memory, that would represent thousands of complex, detailed experiences accumulating over a lifetime. Most would be useless for navigating actual reality. The selective forgetting allows your memory systems to focus on storing information that actually matters for your waking life. And yet, dreams aren't completely forgotten. Certain dreams persist, especially those that are particularly vivid, emotionally intense, or personally meaningful. You might remember a nightmare that woke you, or a dream that seemed to address something you'd been worrying about. This selective preservation suggests your brain has some mechanism for distinguishing between dreams worth remembering and dreams worth discarding. So the resolution to Mystery 3 emerges. You dream and forget because the process of dreaming matters more than the content of dreams. The neural activity, the emotional processing, the memory consolidation, the creative recombination, all serve crucial functions. But the specific narratives your brain generates are often just byproducts. They serve their purpose in the moment and then release back into the void. You're still here with me, thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We are exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. Now we turn to perhaps the most disorienting aspect of sleep consciousness. You close your eyes at night, perhaps lie awake for a few minutes, and then, without quite knowing how, it's morning. 8 hours have passed, yet you experienced almost none of them. Where did the time go? This temporal gap creates our fourth paradox. During waking consciousness, you experience time as continuous flow, but sleep creates a true discontinuity, a gap where hours simply vanish. The experience of time requires consciousness. More specifically, it requires certain types of brain activity that create your sense of temporal flow. During waking, your brain constantly updates a model of where you are in time. It tracks how long you've been doing something, predicts what will happen next, creates the subjective feeling of present moving into future. This temporal processing involves multiple brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex, basal ganglia, and cerebellum. During sleep, particularly during deep, slow-wave sleep, the brain regions responsible for tracking time essentially go offline. The prefrontal cortex shows dramatically reduced activity. The thalamus shifts into a different mode of operation. Without these systems active, there's no neural machinery available to create the subjective experience of time passing. Time still passes objectively, clocks still tick, but subjectively, from the perspective of your sleeping consciousness, time ceases to exist. During REM dreams, something interesting happens. You experience narrative time, the sense that events are unfolding sequentially within the dream. A dream might feel like it lasts for hours. But when researchers wake people from REM and ask them to estimate duration, estimates are typically very inaccurate. A dream that subjectively felt like 30 minutes might have occurred during a REM period lasting only 5 minutes. Dream time and clock time don't match. This temporal distortion reveals something fundamental about how consciousness creates time perception. Your waking sense of time isn't a direct perception of objective time. It's a construction, a model your brain builds based on how much information you're reprocessing and what neural systems are active. During dreams, with reduced input from external reality and altered neural states, this model becomes untethered from objective time. Between dreams, during the transitions and particularly during deep sleep, even dream time disappears. You experience nothing at all. No time, no thoughts, no awareness, just a void. This complete absence of experience is impossible to remember because there's nothing to remember. When you wake in the morning and try to account for the night, you might recall a dream fragment, perhaps adjusting your pillow, but the vast majority is simply gone. Halfway through our journey, we pause to recognize what this tells us about consciousness. The continuous sense of self you maintain during waking, the feeling that you persist unchanged from moment to moment, is revealed to be more fragile than it seems. Every night, you demonstrate that consciousness can be interrupted for hours, that your sense of time can disappear completely, and that when you return, you're essentially the same person despite the gap. This has interesting philosophical implications. Many philosophers argue that personal identity depends on psychological continuity, on having connected memories forming a coherent narrative. But sleep breaks that continuity nightly. You wake with no memory of most of the night, no continuous thread connecting you to the person who fell asleep. Yet you immediately recognize yourself as the same person. Identity persists across the gaps. The disappearance of time during sleep also explains why sleep deprivation is so disorienting. When you don't sleep, time becomes oppressive. The night stretches endlessly. Hours feel like days. This happens partly because you're re-experiencing all that time consciously, every minute accounted for in your awareness. Normal sleep allows you to skip forward 8 hours instantly. Insomnia forces you to live through every minute. So Mystery 4 resolves. Time disappears during sleep because the neural systems that create time perception shut down. Consciousness and time are intimately linked. Without consciousness to experience it, time ceases to exist subjectively. The 8 hours vanish because there is no conscious observer present to witness them passing. This isn't a flaw in sleep's design. It's a feature, allowing you to traverse time efficiently, arriving at morning without experiencing every minute between. Let each breath guide you to realize time is yours, a separate stream that only you are living. While the vast universe continues to spin, expand, change this second you rebreathing, listening, is unique. Cherish the present moment, knowing that right now, your time is unique in the universe. And we continue drifting. Our fifth paradox might seem subtle at first, but becomes profound upon reflection. When you go to sleep troubled by a problem, anxious about a situation, or caught in a particular emotional state, you often wake to find that somehow, overnight, things have shifted. The problem might not be solved. The situation hasn't changed objectively, but your relationship to it feels different. Anxiety has softened. Anger has cooled. Confusion has clarified. What happened during those hours when you weren't consciously thinking about anything? We've already touched on some mechanisms. Emotional processing during REM sleep, memory consolidation during slow wave sleep, the clearing of metabolic waste that helps brain function. But there's more to the story. Recent research published in Science reveals that sleep doesn't just process yesterday. It fundamentally reorganizes neural networks, shifting the physical architecture of your brain in subtle but significant ways. This process is called synaptic homeostasis. Throughout the day, as you learn and experience things, synapses throughout your brain get stronger. This is how learning works. But if this continued unchecked, your brain would eventually become saturated, unable to form new connections. Sleep prevents this. During sleep, synapses are selectively weakened, creating space for new learning while preserving important connections. But the selection process isn't random. Important memories, emotional experiences, and useful information are protected and even strengthened during sleep. Trivial or unimportant connections are weakened or eliminated. Your brain essentially decides overnight what matters and what doesn't, what to keep and what to discard. This means you wake with a refined, optimized version of yesterday's neural network. You are not the same person who fell asleep. Emotionally, this manifests as the common experience of sleeping on it actually working. When you are upset before sleep, your amygdala is hyperactive. During REM sleep, memories of the upsetting event are reactivated, but with stress hormones at low levels. The emotional intensity gets dialed down while factual content is preserved. You wake remembering what happened, but feeling less emotionally charged. Research by Matthew Walker, updated in 2024, demonstrates this precisely. Participants shown emotionally disturbing images before sleep, and again after sleep, show reduced amygdala reactivity the second time. The images haven't changed. The participants' brains have changed. Sleep has recalibrated their emotional response system. This isn't just feeling better because you re-rested. It's a genuine neurological shift. The same principle applies to problem solving. When you go to sleep stuck on a difficult problem, your waking mind has exhausted its usual approaches. During sleep, particularly during REM, your brain tries different associations, different combinations of stored knowledge, different perspectives. These attempts happen beneath consciousness, in dream content that makes no logical sense, but might contain useful conceptual connections. Studies show that after sleeping, people are better at solving problems requiring insight. Those aha moments where the solution suddenly becomes obvious. Sleep doesn't necessarily provide the answer directly, but it reorganizes how you think about the problem. When you wake, you might approach it from a different angle or notice an aspect you overlooked. Even your physical body contributes to waking different. During sleep, your immune system works more efficiently, reducing inflammation throughout your body, including your brain. Lower inflammation means clearer thinking, better mood regulation, improved cognitive function. Your muscles repair from minor damages. Your cardiovascular system gets extended rest. When you wake, you're not just mentally different. You're physically renewed. Sleep also appears to enhance pattern recognition and extraction of general rules from specific examples. A study in Current Biology showed that people who slept after learning a complex pattern were better at recognizing that pattern in new contexts than people who stayed awake. Sleep had helped them extract the underlying principle. You wake not just with processed memories, but with generalized knowledge. There's also a neurochemical reset during sleep. Neurotransmitter systems that become depleted during waking hours get replenished. Dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, all the chemical messengers that influence mood, motivation, and cognition, return to optimal levels. This chemical rebalancing contributes significantly to waking up in a different emotional state. Some researchers propose that sleep allows your brain to run simulations, exploring different scenarios and potential futures without real-world consequences. During dreams, you might practice social interactions, rehearse responses to potential threats, or experiment with different ways of thinking about your life. These simulations update your internal models, giving you new perspectives that weren't available before sleep. Sleep also strengthens procedural memories, the kind involved in skills and habits. If you practiced a new skill during the day, sleep consolidates that learning. When you wake, the skill feels more automatic, more fluid. Your brain has literally rewired itself overnight to make the skill easier to perform. This applies to everything from playing an instrument to athletic movements to professional skills. The reorganization during sleep even affects how you perceive and interpret the world. Studies show that sleep can shift your perspective on social situations, making you more empathetic or better able to see another person's point of view. The emotional distance created by sleep allows you to reconsider situations with fresh eyes. So Mystery 5 finds its resolution. You wake up different because you are different. Sleep is not passive rest. It's active transformation. Every night, your brain reorganizes itself, your emotions recalibrate, your body repairs, your memories consolidate, and your perspective shifts. The person who wakes is neurologically, chemically, and cognitively distinct from the person who fell asleep. Our sixth paradox touches on memory itself. You spend roughly 1/3 of your entire life asleep. Over an 80-year lifespan, that's more than 25 years of experience. Yet when you try to remember being asleep, you recall almost nothing. Some dream fragments perhaps, brief moments of waking, but the actual state of being asleep remains completely opaque to memory. Why can't you remember something you spend so much time doing? The simplest answer is that memory requires consciousness, and during deep sleep, consciousness is so minimal that there's nothing to remember. Memory formation depends on neural encoding processes that only occur when certain brain regions are active and certain neurotransmitters are available. During deep slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus is not processing external input. The prefrontal cortex is relatively quiet. The neurochemical environment lacks the norepinephrine necessary for memory consolidation. But it's more nuanced than simply saying consciousness is absent. Some degree of monitoring appears to continue even in the deepest sleep. You can be woken by certain sounds, particularly ones that are personally relevant. A parent will wake to their child's cry even when sleeping through louder, but less meaningful noises. This suggests some level of processing continues. Yet you don't remember this processing. During REM dreams, memory encoding is actively suppressed despite relatively high consciousness levels. You experience vivid, complex narratives, but brain chemistry prevents these experiences from being stored. So there are periods during sleep where consciousness is present but memory formation is blocked, and other periods where both consciousness and memory formation are minimal. Either way, the result is amnesia for most of the night. This creates a strange philosophical question. If experiences occur but cannot be remembered, did they really happen in a meaningful sense? From a subjective standpoint, things that leave no memory trace might as well never have occurred. The hours of deep sleep you've experienced across your lifetime are completely lost to you. They happened objectively, neurologically, biologically, but subjectively, they are simply gone. Some researchers suggest this amnesia is protective. If you remembered the full content of every sleep stage, every micro-awakening, every dream, your mind would be cluttered with largely useless information. The selective amnesia helps maintain clear boundaries between sleeping and waking experience, preventing confusion about what actually happened versus what you dreamed. There's also evidence that the amnesia serves the functions sleep provides. During sleep, memories are being consolidated, reorganized, and integrated. If you remembered the process of this happening, you might remember the intermediate states, the partial connections, the trial associations that don't work out. This could interfere with the final, consolidated memory. The amnesia allows only the finished product to be remembered. Think about how strange it would be if you could remember being unconscious. Consciousness, by definition, requires awareness. Being unconscious means the absence of awareness. Remembering unconsciousness would be like remembering the time before you were born. It's not that the memory has been lost. It's that there was never anything to remember in the first place. Yet your body remembers sleep in its own way. You wake rested or you done tea. You feel the effects of good sleep or poor sleep. Your immune system was strengthened or weakened. Your memories were consolidated or remained fragmented. The evidence of sleep is written into every cell, even if your conscious mind retains no memory of the experience itself. So Mystery 6 resolves simply. You can remember being asleep, because memory requires the very consciousness that sleep temporarily suspends. During the deepest stages of sleep, there is no one present to remember. During dreams, memory encoding is chemically blocked. The amnesia isn't a failure. It's an integral part of how sleep works, allowing the brain to process and reorganize without the interference of conscious observation or memory formation. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Feel the cycles. Like your breath, inhale, exhale, a small cycle within the vast universe. You are also part of that eternal movement. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order, like planets silently rotating in their orbits, unhurried, unresisting, simply existing. We're almost there now. We arrive at our final paradox, perhaps the most fundamental of all. Every night of your life, you willingly surrender consciousness, become profoundly vulnerable, and enter a state you barely understand and cannot control. You trust that this process will somehow help you, that you will wake refreshed rather than harmed. Why? How did humans evolve this extraordinary trust in something so mysterious? The answer begins with necessity. Sleep is not optional. It's as mandatory as breathing. You cannot simply decide not to sleep, not for long. After about 17 hours of wakefulness, cognitive performance begins declining measurably. After 24 hours, you are as impaired as if legally intoxicated. After several days, hallucinations begin. Your body will force you to sleep, whether you trust the process or not. Evolution has made sleep unavoidable for good reason. Every animal with a nervous system of sufficient complexity sleeps, or enters sleep-like states. This universality across species suggests that sleep serves absolutely fundamental functions that cannot be bypassed. The cost of not sleeping is so high that evolution has made sure we cannot avoid it. But beyond necessity, there's also the simple fact that sleep works. Every time you wake from a good night's sleep, you feel better. Your mind is clearer. Your emotions are more balanced. Your body feels refreshed. This direct, repeated experience builds trust. You don't need to understand the mechanism to trust the outcome. There's also something built into human psychology that makes trust easier. Young children fall asleep readily, showing no anxiety about the state they're re-entering. This suggests that fear of sleep is not innate, but rather something that has to be learned. In cultures without modern understandings of sleep, people still trusted the process, creating rituals around it but fundamentally accepting it as natural. Modern science has revealed that this trust is well-founded. Sleep is not random or wasteful. It's exquisitely organized, serving multiple critical functions with elegant precision. The architecture of sleep stages, the cycling between REM and non-REM, the neurochemical changes, all follow patterns that optimize different aspects of restoration. You trust sleep because sleep is trustworthy. Yet there remains something almost mystical about the surrender sleep requires. You close your eyes not knowing exactly what will happen during the night, not able to control or monitor the process, not even able to remember most of it afterward. You trust your brain to do its work without your conscious oversight. You trust your body to continue breathing, your heart to continue beating. This trust is perhaps the ultimate act of letting go. During waking hours, you maintain constant vigilance, monitoring your environment, controlling your behavior, managing your thoughts and emotions. Sleep requires releasing all of that. You have to let go of control, let go of vigilance, let go of the constant effort of being consciously alive. And in that letting go, restoration becomes possible. Some spiritual traditions have recognized sleep as a teacher of surrender. If you can learn to let go into sleep, to trust the process completely without resistance or anxiety, that same skill can help with other forms of letting go. Meditation, relaxation, acceptance of change. Sleep is practice for surrender. The brain seems designed for this trust. During the transition into sleep, brain regions associated with worry and rumination quiet down before consciousness fully dissolves. This prevents anxious thought loops that could interfere with falling asleep. Your brain chemically facilitates your ability to let go and trust. Melatonin rises, adenosine accumulates, GABA activity increases, all conspiring to make surrender feel natural and safe. There's also community trust built into sleep. For most of human evolutionary history, people slept in groups. Others kept watch while you slept. You trusted that if danger arose, someone would wake you. Modern life has isolated sleep, making it more solitary, but the instinct to sleep when in safe company remains. You sleep more easily when you feel safe. And ultimately, the trust in sleep reflects a deeper trust in life itself. Your body knows what it needs. Your brain has mechanisms evolved over millions of years to maintain you. Life has organized itself with astonishing wisdom, creating cycles of activity and rest, consciousness and unconsciousness, being and non-being. Trusting sleep is trusting life. This brings us to a deeper understanding. Sleep reveals that you are more than your conscious mind. There is wisdom in your body that operates beyond awareness. There are healing processes that don't require your participation. There are transformations that happen when you stop trying to control everything. Sleep teaches you that you can trust what you don't understand. Every night, you demonstrate profound faith. The faith that dissolution is not destruction. That letting go is not losing. That surrender is not defeat. You demonstrate that you can release everything, all control, all awareness, all sense of self, and still return in the morning, intact, renewed yourself. This nightly practice of trust shapes how you approach life. The ability to fall asleep reflects a fundamental capacity to let go when appropriate. The people who struggle most with sleep are often those who struggle most with surrender in general. Learning to trust sleep can teach you to trust life's other transitions and transformations. There's also something humbling about sleep. No matter how important you are, how much control you exert during the day, how much power you wield, every night you must surrender to the same biological necessity as everyone else. Sleep is the great equalizer. It reminds you that you are human, that you have limits, that you are part of nature's rhythms. And perhaps sleep is also a rehearsal. Every night, you practice the ultimate letting go. You practice releasing consciousness, releasing control, releasing attachment to existence itself. In this way, sleep prepares you for other losses, other endings, other transformations. It teaches you that letting go can be peaceful, natural, even restful. Some cultures view sleep as a small death and waking as a small rebirth. This isn't T-morbid. It's recognizing the transformative nature of sleep. Each night, the person you were dissolves. Each morning, a slightly different person emerges. You die and are reborn daily, in the gentlest possible way. The mystery of why we trust sleep thus becomes a window into the mystery of trust itself. We trust processes we don't fully understand all the time. We trust our hearts to beat, our lungs to breathe, our cells to divide and repair. We trust that tomorrow will come, that the sun will rise, that life will continue. Sleep is just the most obvious example of this fundamental trust. So the final mystery resolves. You trust sleep because you must, because it works, because it feels right, and because your entire being is designed to facilitate that trust. The incompleteness of your understanding doesn't undermine the trust. In fact, the mystery might even enhance it. You surrender to something larger than your conscious mind, something ancient and wise. This brings us full circle. We began by asking how consciousness changes during sleep. We've discovered that it transforms in countless ways, serving purposes ranging from cellular cleanup to emotional healing, from memory organization to creative insight. Consciousness doesn't disappear during sleep. It reorganizes, fragments, processes, consolidates, and eventually dissolves, only to re-emerge transformed in the morning. We've explored 7 paradoxes. Why we lose consciousness to stay alive. Why the sleeping brain stays active. Why we dream but forget. Why time disappears. Why we wake transformed. why we can remember sleep itself, and why we trust something we don't understand. Each paradox revealed a deeper truth about the nature of consciousness and existence. Sleep teaches that consciousness is more flexible than we imagine, that identity persists across discontinuities, that healing happens beyond awareness, that transformation requires dissolution, that trust is more fundamental than understanding, that letting go is how you move forward. These lessons extend far beyond the bedroom. Perhaps consciousness during sleep isn't diminished consciousness, but rather consciousness freed from the constraints of waking life, freed from the need to monitor the external world, freed from the burden of maintaining a coherent sense of self, freed to explore, to heal, to reorganize, to transform. Sleep consciousness is liberation. And perhaps the ultimate truth is this: the real change isn't what happens to consciousness during sleep. The real change is what happens when you trust yourself enough to let consciousness go. Every night, you demonstrate the most profound faith. You trust yourself to dissolve and return every single night forever. That trust is the foundation of your existence, the rhythm that makes life sustainable. Sleep isn't the opposite of living. It's how living continues. And so, our quiet journey through the mysteries of consciousness comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the paradox of losing awareness to stay alive, through the strange activity of the sleeping brain, into the forgotten worlds of dreams and the vanishing of time itself. We discovered how you wake transformed, why you can remember the void, and why you trust this nightly surrender. From the cleaning systems that require your absence, to the emotional healing that happens in darkness, to the reorganization that makes tomorrow possible, we've glimpsed how consciousness is both more fragile and more resilient than we imagined. Sleep reminds us that letting go is necessary. Much of the deepest healing happens in silence, in the spaces between thoughts, in the dissolution of the vigilant self. Sleep teaches patience, trust, and the wisdom of surrender. Without this nightly practice of releasing control, without the rhythmic cycle of being and non-being, consciousness would exhaust itself. By pausing to notice, we glimpse the extraordinary intelligence embedded in this ordinary surrender. And now, in these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about consciousness itself, yours, mine, everyone listening, all awareness everywhere, perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. Prepare for deep sleep, no boundaries left, only peace. If this thoughtful exploration of the mind made you feel less alone, whisper it forward to someone else awake tonight. It may bring comfort to one more wandering consciousness. One quiet share, one peaceful night at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of consciousness to fade now, like morning mist dissolving in warm light, leaving only the gentle calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if gravity itself has become a soft blanket, pulling you gently toward the earth, toward stillness, toward sleep. If sleep comes, let it carry you like water carrying a leaf downstream, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they reclosed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, consciousness will return, fresh and renewed. Your thoughts will flow again. Your awareness will brighten. Your sense of self will coalesce from the fragments. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, dreamer. And remember, you've been practicing this surrender your entire life. You already know how to let go. You already trust the darkness. You already know the way home. Deep sleep with mind science. Dream deeper with bedtime psychology. Relax, listen, and drift into sleep. Good night.